Right. Thanks, Stacey. Good morning, Bill. Just start off today. How would you describe how Jonnu Smith has acclimated to the Patriots system and sort of what you're asking him to do relative to maybe what you had seen him do in Tennessee and some of the differences there?
Yeah, you'd have to ask him about Tennessee. I don't know, but I think he's acclimated well. Unfortunately, he missed some time this spring, but from training camp on, he's taken a lot of reps, and I think he's acclimated well to the system.
Our next question, Chris Ryan, followed by Tara Sullivan.
Morning, Bill. How are you?
Good, Chris.
Want to ask kind of a general question on the league at this point after getting kind of a Sunday to watch some games, etc. Obviously, the league generally has equity and parity. Do you think that there's more of that this year and less defined favorites perhaps than there have been in previous years?
Yeah, I don't know, Chris. That's really probably a better question for somebody else. I try to focus on the teams that we play, and obviously last week spent a ton of time on Atlanta, and the week before that spent a ton of time on Cleveland. What everybody else is doing, you see bits and pieces of it, and you see some of the crossover games, and some situational things that come up. I monitor those pretty regularly, weekly, but just sitting back and watching games, that's not really my thing right now.
And on Tennessee for a second, just your initial impressions of them and your thoughts on the game yesterday, obviously against the Texans.
Yeah, well, they turned the ball over against the Texans, which is hard to count on. That's not what they do, so I don't think we'll get that. Tough physical team. Their backs run hard. They have a very experienced line. Obviously Brown's a huge threat. Ferkshire had some big plays against us, and we played them in 19. Defensively, they're again a strong physical team up front. I mean, you got to handle the big guys. Got to handle Simmons, and then Landry and the pass rush. They make it's typical. I would say Mike team. They're tough, they're physical, they make you beat them, they don't make many mistakes, they know what they're doing, they're sound, they're a good fundamental team, they tackle well. The backs and receivers run hard with the ball, quarterback's athletic, so sound in the kicking game. We're going to have to play a good football game in all three phases.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Next question, Tara Sullivan, followed by Phil Perry.
Good morning, Phil. I wanted to ask you about Mac specifically as it relates to being a rookie, as we've heard many of his teammates kind of talking about seeing him as like a veteran already, and that it's easy for them to forget he's in his first year in the NFL. With the season count now, like moving past the midway point, guys are really grinding. How do you assess how he's done, for being a rookie? Are there moments where he reminds you of just how young he is?
Well, Max worked extremely hard and continues to work hard on a daily basis. He's very consistent in his preparation and his process. Like any young player, he learns things all the time. We all do, but I think his process is consistent, and that's really what it needs to be. Just each day has its own challenges. From early downs to third down to the red area, 2-minute situational football, and so forth. And by the time you get to the end of the week, you fill up your preparation in all those areas, and then go out and play the game, and then start all over again. He's done a good job of that.
I don't know if I can follow up, but and maybe you always balk at the comparison game, but in your experience coaching rookies, is he better at it than some, worse at it than some? But I mean, would you rate him just as, as you've coached rookies through your career?
Well, each player's different, each situation's different. We've had other rookie quarterbacks, but none of them have really played as rookies, with the exception of Jacoby for a game. So it's really, we haven't had a rookie play at that position. think it's hard to compare a rookie quarterback to a rookie defensive lineman, and it's just not the same thing. They're both challenging, they're both hard, but it's a different type of hard.
Next question, Phil Perry, followed by Andrew Callahan.
Hey, Bill, I wanted to just follow up on something that Devin told us the other night, where he was talking about his interception, but he had mentioned how he felt like most of the interceptions you guys have had this year has been due to some pressure up front. And on his in particular, it looked like there was pressure, but also looked like a pretty good jam from Kyle on Pitts on that play. I just wanted to ask you, I know that game was a while ago now, but how do you feel like the rush and the coverage has sort of been married up lately from your vantage point in terms of, whatever has to happen to make that work, timing, things like that?
Well, team defense is it's important to be successful. And again, as I've said many times before, you just can't put one guy out there and stop somebody's offense in this league. That's just not realistic. So the combination of good team defense, run defense, which forces passing situations, pass rush, pass coverage, jamming receivers, keeping the quarterback in the pocket, using your help and your leverage, and all those things. They're all fundamentals. They're all critical. On that play, we ran a pick stunt inside with Hightower and Bentley. They both came free. I'm sure Ryan felt the pressure on that. At the same time, Judon came out of the pass rush and peeled with the back end coverage, which is another luxury that we have when we have pass rushers who can also provide coverage that changes the rushers that we have available. It changes the types of rushes that we can use and puts pressure on the offense as to who's coming. I mean, we all know Judon's coming most of the time, but not all the time. And again, as you mentioned on the play, Phil, Kyle got a real good jam on Pitts at the line of scrimmage. And I think, normally, Ryan probably would have had a little better chance to see that. I'm not sure, exactly what he saw. You'd have to ask him, but certainly Pitts had a hard time, progressing down the field. Kyle did a great job of jamming him. Judon peeled with the back in the flat, so he wasn't open. And Devin got a good break on the ball. Ryan didn't have a chance to look anybody off. He had two guys, bearing down on him. So, it's good team defense. You can give credit to whoever you want on that play. And ultimately, Devin's the one with the guy in the stat book. But, the flip side of that is the receivers are covered, the quarterback holds the ball, somebody gets a sack. So it's good team defense. That's really what it comes down to. And the more we do that, then the better results we're going to have. But, if one guy breaks down, then the other guys can be in good position. But if you don't cover a receiver, or somebody lets the quarterback out of the pocket, or whatever it is that breaks down, in addition to coaching mistakes that come up, then it all, you get 10 good things and one bad one, and it's still not a good play.
Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
Next question, Andrew Callahan, followed by Mark Daniels.
Hey, good morning, Bill.
Andrew?
I wanted to ask you just about the offense, and this is kind of a bigger picture question, but you guys have led or been among the league leaders in two-back personnel usage the last few years. And I'm just curious, as you continue to use that, is there a different advantage to using it now versus when two-back might have been a little bit more common across the league?
Well, first of all, I think you can look at this, take the stats from last year, and not sure how relevant they are. There are a lot of circumstances surrounding that, but you see less two-back in the league, and defensively, the two-back plays are a little more of a problem to defend than the one-back plays in some respects, and the one-back plays are a little harder to defend than the two-back plays in some respects. So I think there's an advantage if you can do both, to doing both, and force your opponent to work on everything. All that takes time. It takes consumes meeting time, practice time, game planning time. And if you can do it better than they can, then you can gain an advantage. If you can't, then you're probably better off moving on to something else. So I think it's just another way to attack the defense. And as I said, if it can help you, if it can be advantageous, then that's probably worth the investment.
Looks like the last question will be Mark Daniels.
Good morning, Bill.
Hey, Mark.
Adrian Phillips is having another great year for your defense, and I was wondering, when you signed him, did you expect him to be as versatile and smart as he is, and just how impressive and I guess rare is his ability to line up in just so many different spots and play those at a high level?
Yeah, it's very impressive. We've been fortunate to have players like that. Certainly Chung did a lot of that for us, and Devin has done it, can do it. Again, physically, that's probably not the best thing for him, but he's done it for us and has done it well. Devin came in the league as a corner, so but Adrian was very good around the line of scrimmage for the Chargers, and at San Diego he played in the box, he played on the edge of the defense. They played that style of defense where the safeties really played as linebackers, in Coach Bradley's defense, and you can see his instinctiveness. But you go all the way back to him at Texas and talking to his coaches back there, it was pretty much the same thing in college as it was in the NFL. Very instinctive, very high IQ, plays faster and bigger than whatever his dimensions and times are. And he's got a real high level of instinctiveness and anticipation that for a lot of players in that position, linebackers, safeties, guys that kind of play in the interior part of a defense, when you have a lot of guys running around doing different things, no matter how fast the guy is, it can slow him down. And no matter how strong he is, if he can't really get into a good football hitting contact position because of the amount of time it takes or the being able to figure out exactly where you're going and where you need to be and the angle you need to take to get there and all that, it can neutralize a lot of those things. And you see players with great instincts, which Adrian has, both in the running game and the passing game. He's got excellent hands too. You look at some of the interceptions he's made for us and in his career. Those are really good catches that a lot of defensive players might not be able to to make that turnover play. So all those things are positive. And when he gets the opportunity to do it, he's a good tackler. He's got good ball awareness to cause fumbles and that kind of thing, and intercept passes. And even the play in the Carolina game that they ruled the runner down when Mills pulled the ball off him down there around the 10-yard line or so. Adrian's right there, scooped it up, ran in for a touchdown, and the runner was down, but it play didn't obviously count, but that was another good example of how quickly he reacted. He came from all the way on the other side of the field to be there, to make the recovery, and got the ball in the end zone. I mean, it's really a good play. It didn't count, but again, those are the kind of things that he just does on a pretty regular basis, and you sort of take them for granted, but they're really good plays. And I mean, we can't take them for granted, but he makes a lot of them. Did we see everything? I don't know, but I think you saw him play like that in San Diego, and you saw him play like that at the University of Texas, and he continues to be productive. He's one of our best players and one of our most versatile players. And he almost always does the right thing. When something comes up, maybe you haven't covered it, maybe you haven't exactly gone through that situation or a particular way of blocking, crack block or something has unfolded, but he almost always just does the right thing. Kind of like Chung. Stuff happens and he's got a decision to make, and it's maybe a little gray and a little and he just does the right thing. He does what you would want him to do without really telling him exactly what to do in that situation. So all that's impressive. Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, everyone.